quest continues, part B of the Bosnia Spomeniks series. We're driving to Sarajevo now from Neum. It's about a 4-hour drive. And on the way, we're going to stop and see Titos Bunker. Driving through Mostar again. Mostar was one of our day trips when we were staying in Neum. Pulled over to give you a quick view of Mostar. Mostar got its name, by the way, from the Stari Most, the old bridge. Stopped again in Mostar for an abandoned shopping mall. Oh, look at this. This abandoned mall opened in 1970, and you can see the concrete panels that surround the facade of this structure are decorated with ancient designs borrowed from Steci, the medieval tombstones that you saw last video. Okay, on to Titos Bunker, which is about an hour south of Sarajevo. Just stopped in a town called Konjic, and here is another Ottoman bridge. You've seen 2 of them now so far. This one was completed in 1683, but then destroyed by retreating Germans in 1945. Subsequently rebuilt. The name of this bridge is Stara Chupria, and it spans the Neretva River. 2009 was when they fixed it up to look as it used to. A few more minutes from the bridge, and we will have reached Titos Bunker. This unassuming house behind me is the entrance to Titos Bunker, an underground complex constructed from 1953 over the course of 26 years. It was built to house Yugoslav President Tito and the country's political leadership in case of a nuclear attack. It could accommodate over 300 people for 6 months. That's 6,500 square meters of space at a depth of 280 meters. You know, Bosnia was chosen for the bunker's location because it was very mountainous, as well as I guess, a bit of the geographical center of Yugoslavia. The Yugoslav state wanted to ensure such secrecy of ARK, that's Atomic War Command, that workers were blindfolded before being brought to the worksite. And when it was completed in 1979, something like only 6 people even knew of its existence. The construction cost, I think, is $4.6 billion, making it the most expensive construction project the country has ever completed. Unfortunately, Tito died the year after this was completed, and he never had a chance to visit it. This is Tito's bathroom. President of Yugoslavia's bathroom. Tito's shit. Bunk rooms for lower level. I mean, obviously important enough to save from nuclear disaster, but not important enough to have their own room. They gotta share their bedrooms. Bunk beds.
That was his very powerful heritage. He was not only a father of Yugoslav nation, yes, with rather strict military political regime.
This is the communication center. Codename Istanbul. The radio room. Now it's off to Sarajevo, where we will be staying for 7 nights and looking for Spomeniks. We're still in Konjic. I stopped because this cemetery looks very beautiful. Across the Islamic Cemetery looks to be a partisan grave. It's got the Yugoslav red star, the partisan red star, above the entrance. Look, a communist mosaic. And it says Spomen Kosturnica. Spomen Kosturnica. So it's an ossuary. Kosturnica is an ossuary. So this must be an ossuary for fallen partisans. You can see a little bit of the old Ottoman Bridge from this ossuary. Okay, let's go. This is special. Our first highway. We've been here for a number of days now. Haven't yet seen a highway. There's so many hills. It's just nonstop mountain. Oh, windy roads. And look at this. Yeah, it is a highway. Welcome to Sarajevo. And here we are, home sweet home. Can you see the bullet scars at the very tops of these buildings? This is our block. This is where we live. Chicken doner for dinner. Good morning from Sarajevo. You know, we have 7 days here, and according to the weather forecast, every single day is rain, except maybe today. So today we're just gonna walk all over the city center and learn about the story of the city through whatever we happen to visit. A Tito statue. You don't see too many of them anymore in former Yugoslavia. So this is Anton Augustinčić's sculpture of Tito, former Yugoslav president. And it was placed in this area because it was used during World War II as barracks for Tito's partisan army. This is the former Museum of the Revolution, 1963. And now it's a history museum. We'll come back on one of the rainy days, probably, and take a look inside. If there is another siege, I'd rather die than eat Icar. That's a saying popularly attributed to residents here who were around during the siege of Sarajevo. This is the Icar canned beef monument. Put it up in 2007. And it's a memorial to the food aid delivered during the siege of Sarajevo. The inscription says, "Monument to the international community by the grateful citizens of Sarajevo." It's sarcasm. In the opinion of the monument's creators, the aid delivered was the wrong kind. Barely edible corn food instead of weapons. Now, some of the food was left over from the Vietnam War and over 20 years expired. And some consisted of pork for this half-Muslim country. And in popular legend, refused even by dogs and cats. Sarajevo is Bosnia's largest city at under 300,000 people. During the Bosnian War, this city suffered the longest siege of any capital city in the history of modern warfare. 1,425 days, nothing in, nothing out. April 1992 to February 1996. Initially, the city was besieged by the Yugoslav People's Army, and then later, the Army of Republika Srpska. During the siege, over 5,400 civilians were killed. And all of these bullet holes you see in many of the buildings we're walking past, those were the days of the siege. Here's a monument to Đuro Đaković. They put it up in 1973. Đaković was a Yugoslav-Croatian metalworker and communist revolutionary who committed the crime of denouncing the dictatorship of Yugoslav King Alexander I. Đaković was executed at age 42 in 1929 on the Yugoslav-Austrian border, after which authorities attempted to conceal the murder. Later on, during World War II, Đakovic's son, Stepan, who was a partisan, was killed by Ustaše in 1942. I like these benches at the old youth center. We're approaching the Eternal Flame Monument, which was unveiled on April 6th, 1946, exactly 1 year after Sarajevo was liberated from fascist forces, World War II. And this monument is dedicated to the partisan fighters and the civilian victims of World War II from Sarajevo. This is the Roman Catholic Sacred Heart Cathedral. It was built during the Austrian Empire days in 1887 by an architect from Vienna. In front of the cathedral is one of Sarajevo's some 200 Sarajevo Roses. This is a type of memorial made from concrete scar from the explosion of a mortar shell. And they're marked wherever 3 or more people were killed. This is during the siege of Sarajevo. With all the mosques and churches, Catholic and Orthodox, even a synagogue or two. A nickname for Sarajevo is the Jerusalem of Europe. A farmer's market. Here's another Sarajevo Rose at the farmer's market. And you can see that the scarring is filled with a red resin. Another Sarajevo Rose. You know, the Ottoman Empire founded Sarajevo in the 1450s. I think 1461 is the official date given for the founding of Sarajevo. And the Ottoman governor at the time formed this city by taking a cluster of villages and building a mosque, a closed marketplace, a governor's palace, Saray, which is how the name Sarajevo came about. And we are in Başçarşija right now, from the Turkish language. It became the central commercial district and the cultural center of the city under the Ottomans. The Sarajevo clock tower from the 1600s. The Ottoman clock shows lunar time. So when the clock strikes 12 o'clock, it's actually sunset for Muslim prayer. This mosque was built in 1531, and in 1898, it became the first mosque in the world to receive electricity. We're going to go inside. So this old Turkish area of Sarajevo is the city's #1 tourist attraction. Başçarşija Mosque, built before 1528. Shebil, perhaps the most famous symbol of Sarajevo. It's an Ottoman wooden fountain built 1753. You know, legend says if you drink water from this fountain, you will return to Sarajevo. It worked for me. This is Sarajevo City Hall, and across the river from it, this Ottoman era house, it's called the House of Spite. It's become a symbol of Bosnian stubbornness. Basically, this house used to sit on the other side of the river where City Hall is now, and he refused to sell to the Austrian officials until finally they agreed to pay him way more than it was worth, and then move the house brick by brick, one piece at a time, across the bridge and rebuild it identically, facing City Hall on the other side of the river. And they did it. And as they did it, he sat on the bridge smoking cigarettes, just watching the work be completed. When it was done and he moved in, it became known as the House of Spite. Now it's a restaurant. So this is City Hall. It was built by the Austrians in 1896 and then destroyed by Serbian shelling during the siege of Sarajevo. It was rebuilt in 2014. Some say this is the best cevapi in town. I'm happy with my cevapi. Vegetarian wants some borek. Where are you taking us?
To Sač. Da vidim ako radi.
200.
Yeah, it's the best. The best in town? You like how I get my umbrella held for me? It's because I'm a very important vlogger. Austria-Hungary's occupation of Bosnia began in 1878 with the Treaty of Berlin, and by 1908 it was full-on annexation, and that angered the Serbs. 6 years later, in an event that triggered World War I, Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria was assassinated, and we're going to that spot of assassination right now. It was right from this spot, June 28, 1914, that Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb and a self-declared Yugoslav, a member of Young Bosnia, shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria and his wife to death, triggering World War I, ultimately freeing Yugoslavia from the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The car holding the Archduke looked very much like this. What is this here? It says, the monument to the victims of the Sarajevo assassination, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife, Sophie, Duchess of Hohenberg, was unveiled here on June 28, 1917, and removed in February 1919. Okay, so there was a monument, and it was here for less than 2 years. The Emperor's Mosque, built from 1457. It's the oldest place of worship in Sarajevo. The siege of Sarajevo was not kind to this mosque, as it was not kind to most buildings in Sarajevo, and it was rebuilt in 2015. We're heading now to see a synagogue. I think it was the end of 1400s that the Jews started flooding into the Ottoman Empire by invitation. A lot of countries were throwing them out, like Spain, end of 1400s. And the Ottoman Empire said, our home is your home. Of course, many of them ended up dying during World War II in the Holocaust. Just talked to a resident. It's an apartment complex, postmodernist, obviously, and it's called Papagajka, which means parrot building. And they put it up in 1990. This place makes me feel dizzy. Everything's a little off balance. And right next to Papagajka apartment complex is an Ashkenazi synagogue. It's Moorish. It was completed in 1902. Just noticed on the map there's a Sarajevo Brewery. And it's kind of rainy and it's getting late. It's around 6:30. Let's see what the brewery's all about. St. Anthony Catholic Church. The brewery looks closed. Okay, don't come to Sarajevo Brewery for a drink on a Sunday. It's closed. Open every day except for Sundays. Hi. We're gonna try some tufahia. It's an apple dessert. Here you go.
Thank you.
And the apple is stuffed with cream and nuts. You know what it tastes like?
Like compote.
It tastes like compote. And now some scenes from the Siege of Sarajevo Museum. I should tell you how it begins. February 29th and March 1st, 1992. 99.7% voted for independence from Yugoslavia. But it was a turnout of 63% because the Serbs didn't show up to vote. And therein began the conflict. Almost immediately, extremists and sympathizers of the Serb Democratic Party set up barricades at the approaches to Sarajevo and blocked traffic. 1,601 children killed, around 15,000 wounded during the siege. Here's a photo from the Miss Besieged Sarajevo Beauty Contest, May 29th, 1993. The idea was to celebrate beauty as a means of resistance against destruction. The sign is in English, obviously, so international journalists and photographers in attendance could transmit the image to the rest of the world. Snipers made it very difficult for the residents of Sarajevo to move about the city. In 1885, the Austrian Empire made Sarajevo the first city in Europe to have an electric tram system. But that was 140 years ago. There is no electric trams anymore. We gotta walk home. There will be an amazing tram system. They're renovating it now. Doesn't help us now, but there will be. I'm in the backyard of the 1929 State Mortgage Bank building, and there's a fountain here. Look at this. This is a sculpture named The Swimmer, and the artist is Russian. Look at the pure joy on Bianca's face. I just told her we're walking back 40 minutes to our neighborhood. 50 minutes to our neighborhood, Gorbavica. That's where we live. And we are doing it. We are walking. It's good exercise. We're in a bar dedicated to everything Tito. Yul Brynner and Orson Welles, the Battle of Neretva. I'll come back in the daytime and show you more, but I'm gonna grab a drink here.
Cheers.
For Tito. And that's Sarajevo in 22,213 steps. Good night. Yesterday was a massive walking tour around Sarajevo. Today, let's try for a massive driving tour around Sarajevo with a focus, of course, on brutalism, on Spomeniks, but some viewpoints that we were too lazy to walk to yesterday. Out the window is Televizija Sarajevo. It was completed in 1983. It's brutalist. It's nicknamed the Sivi Dome, which means the Grey House, by many Sarajevans. And they started constructing it in 1975, and progress was slow. It was when the city discovered that it had won the bid for the 1984 Winter Olympics in 1978 that work in the project was ramped up, and it was completed in time for the Games. It was modified from its original blueprint and fitted with the most technologically advanced equipment available at the time. So the television and radio station was then used as the main hub for both domestic and international media covering the event. During the Bosnian War, this building was a vital source of broadcasts for those besieged in the city, as well as a target for artillery strikes by Bosnian Serb forces. We're in Alija. It's a town in Sarajevo Canton. We're walking to another Spomenik by Petar Krstic. You might remember him from the last video, part A of the Bosnia Spomenik series. He is the one who designed the Spomenik in Bratunac. Move out of the way. The Spomenik is a monument to the revolution, and it was completed in 1961. All right, it says here that it's a monument to, World War II, NOB, and the socialist revolution. So this is Alija. It's the largest suburb of Sarajevo, and now we're driving to the second largest suburb, Bogosha. We're in Bogosha. And our first stop is going to be at a mosque that was completed in 2005. This suburb of Sarajevo was built to house factory workers. And like most communist-era developments in Yugoslavia, it was not planned with any provision for religious life. Costing around $870,000 to build, this mosque was seen as sort of a revival of religious life in this suburb. Behind the mosque, another Spomenik. It's another Spomenik by Petar Krstic and someone else. 1969, monument to the fallen fighters of the People's Liberation War. It's around 6 meters tall and 8 meters wide. Concrete and copper. This Spomenik doubles as an ossuary for the fallen partisan fighters of this area. In 1943, Spasu Todic, the Chetnik leader, was killed by illegal workers, and this monument was also built in remembrance of those illegal workers. You may have noticed that Sarajevo is surrounded by hills, and we are going to go up one of them now to visit the White Fortress. Not so much for the fortress, but for the views. Stop the car to point out that this is an Ottoman era house. Look at the balcony, Ottoman balcony. We've reached the White Fortress. This fort overlooks the historic core of Sarajevo. That's why we drove up here. They think the fort was built in the 1300s, 1400s. It's Monday, it's closed. But let's check out the views. Without being able to get up into the fort, we can't really get into an overlook over these houses here. So it's not the view that I remember from years back. We're driving up Trebević Mountain, instead of taking the cable car, for some abandoned 1984 Olympics bobsled tracks. I don't know what it used to be, but a lot of graffiti, so I stopped. Upward and onward. Sarajevo hosted the Winter Olympics in 1984, and it was one of the most significant events in the history of Yugoslavia. It was the first Olympics held in the country. It was the first Winter Olympics held in a socialist state. And lastly, the Sarajevo Olympics were unique in that they were not boycotted by any nation in the world. This is the bobsled and luge track on Trebević Mountain, and it is completely in ruins. It was completed in 1982 for the Winter Olympics. This area where the bobsled is located became part of the front line of the siege of Sarajevo. The Bosnian Serb army used the bobsled track as an offensive position. Now to find a restaurant with a view. Kod Bibana for a late lunch, early dinner. Veal soup and a sausage they're calling sucuk. Doesn't look like sucuk to me as far as, what you get in Turkey. Now a 10-minute drive to an old Jewish cemetery on the slopes of this mountain, Trebević Mountain. This Jewish cemetery was founded in 1630 and it's the second largest Jewish cemetery in Europe after the one in Prague. The primary sources for the study of the cemetery are gone forever. They were looted and destroyed, particularly in 1941 when the Book of the Dead was burned in the ruins of the great Sephardi synagogue in Sarajevo. Here's a monument to the victims of fascist terror. They put it up in 1952. This cemetery was part of the front lines in the Bosnian War, and it was used as artillery positions by the Bosnian Serbs. Look, you can see damage. A lot of the tombstones are going to be shot up, and this is the Spomenik here against victims of fascism. You may notice that the tombstones here differ in form from other Jewish cemeteries you may have seen. These are tombstones of Bosnia's Sephardi Jews. I read that this land was completely demined a few years ago, so we're perfectly safe wandering around in this tall grass. Home sweet home. Good night to you. We're gonna party.
Okay.
Yeah, we are. Finn. Happy 4th of July. Yeah, American Independence Day. It's raining, but we're okay. We're under this canopy all the way to the city. 20-minute walk, 30-minute walk. Completely protected by these trees. A Stechak. Don't get too excited. It's a replica. This is the Ministry of Health for the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. So we're walking into town today to meet an old Sarajevan friend with deep ties to Vršac. Nice. This bar has a Yugoslav feel to it. Anyway, so we're moving from the 60s and 70s
The 84.
to 1984.
1984.
Olympics-inspired drinks. These are all Bosnian beers.
They're all Bosnian.
All Bosnian, except the last three.
I think they're also.
I think in Bosnia, pigeons attack people. People are very frightened of the pigeons. Cheers. I wanted to do something special for America, like go to McDonald's or something, and I couldn't find any, and there's a reason for that.
McDonald's franchise got banned in Bosnia because of money embezzling.
There's no McDonald's in Bosnia. Sorry, America. Happy 4th.
We have KFC though now.
KFC. Okay, so Katie, in honor of 4th of July, what are we doing now?
Eating bad hot dogs.
Bad hot dogs?
Bad hot dogs.
Bad hot dogs.
Horrible.
This used to be McDonald's. When did they close?
Like 2 months ago, I think.
Oh man, we just missed it.
Sad.
Shit.
Tragic.
In honor of 4th of July, Pingvin is not serving bad hot dogs, so we'll find another way to celebrate. so to make up, okay, so bar number three.
Yeah.
Bar number three. Okay, now it's back on. 4th of July, back on. So you're not allowed to take videos or photos in this bar. So what you're gonna get is this toilet, and it is a beautiful bathroom. I mean, what more do you need? No videos allowed, no videos. Okay, so that was bar three?
Yeah,
Of
we're
our
going-
4th of July celebration?
We're going to the 4th bar
All right,
now.
bar four. Take us, Katie. This sink serves 2 bathrooms. Look at this.
Junk food option, Asian fusion option, pizza option, chicken wing option, and vegan option. So
And the American option is?
that hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Cauliflower. Look at the vegan. Look at the cauliflower. Look at the joy. Unbridled joy
I'm
the
quite
face
excited. I'm very excited.
of the vegetarian who's been eating date mussels and oysters. Okay. Finally, an homage to America.
Bad hot dogs.
Bad hot dogs. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, bar number 5. Bar number 5.
Did
Because-
you enjoy your hot dogs?
Yeah, in America, it's still 4th of July. It might be after midnight here, but in America,
It's
4th
not-
of July.
It's not even after midnight. here.
not even after midnight. We're so
It's
in the
still
middle.
4th.
We're so in the middle of 4th of July right now.
Huh?
Wasn't enough? 1992 to 1995?
Please.
Wasn't it?
Uninvolved in peace.
You have to ring a bell to get in. And she knows the bell to ring. Like she's ringing bells.
We'll see if someone comes here.
The strip club was closed.
It's not strip club, it's a club with a strip pole.
The bar with the stripper pole is closed.
We're going to the next one.
We'll get to number 5. Oh!
No.
So quiet.
No.
You're so quiet. Why are you so quiet?
No.
Yeah, that's better.
No.
To help with this morning's hangover, I thought a good idea might be to see another Spomenik. It's about a 25-minute walk up a mountain. I didn't tell you that part, did I?
Oh.
We are walking to Vraca Memorial Park, opened 1981 on the slopes of Trebević Mountain, the same mountain we were driving around day before yesterday. We've arrived. It's a 78,000 square meter monument park and dedicated to the thousands of victims who were killed during the National Liberation War, World War II, by the hands of Axis aggressors. The idea was to rehabilitate an old Austro-Hungarian fortress, combining the works of a Yugoslav designer and another Yugoslav sculptor. Vraca, this site, the site of the Austro-Hungarian fortress, was used for mass execution of Jews and Serbs by the Croatian nationalist Ustaša in 1941. Over 11,000 people were executed at this site. And it was also used for disposal of bodies, people that were executed elsewhere in the city. Around 11,000 names of men, women, and children killed here are mentioned on these walls. In response to these brutalities, rebels organized themselves into a formidable resistance movement led by Vladimir Walter Perić. Perić died on the day Sarajevo was liberated, a hand grenade tossed at him by a German soldier. You can watch a movie about it called Walter Defends Sarajevo. I read it was the most watched Yugoslav film of all time. There used to be an eternal flame burning here. In 1996, this park was destroyed by the withdrawing army of Republika Srpska after the signing of the Dayton Agreement, the peace agreement. And the park was restored in 2019, although it's kind of hard to tell. That's one of Sarajevo's newer buildings, the Avaz Twist Tower. There's an observation deck on top. So we're gonna go see what's inside the former Museum of the Revolution, that 1961 communist building we passed by a few days ago. Now it's the History Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Two seconds into the museum, and we have our first communist mosaic. Tito visited this museum in 1969. Thought you should know. Ah, nice. Here's a Nandor Glid. The Uprising is what it's called. It was part of the permanent exhibition of the Museum of the Revolution. This piece of art, along with other elements of the permanent exhibition about World War II, was transferred to the basement rooms in 1992. That's where we are now, the basement. They were moved here to protect them from the Bosnian War. Out in the yard, we got a weapons display, and I thought I had seen all of the Tito statues I was ever going to see, and here we are. What a surprise! This monument of Marshal Tito was commissioned by the Museum of the Revolution. It was part of the permanent exhibition about World War II from 1963 until 1992. And the sculptor was Antun Augusticic. I thought the soda stream I had in Vršac was, state-of-the-art modern technology. And look at this one here from 1980. I think we've earned ourselves some cold beers at the Tito Bar. Here's the most watched Yugoslav film, Walter Defends Sarajevo. It's a 1941 Jeep Willie, USA.
Thank you, good sir.
This is Hotel Igman. They built it for the 1984 Winter Olympics, a place where Olympians could call home while they competed. destroyed in the Bosnian War. And we happened to be here during the Shitty Car Festival. A bunch of Czechs driving shitty cars from Prague, and they stop at different Czech exclaves, like Czech Village, near Vršac in Vojvodina, Serbia. Yeah, those guys, the Shitty Car Festival's here. And we are still in Sarajevo, Sarajevo Canton. Oh, you match. Careful, careful, careful. The Olympians had a nice view. Anything?
No. Same old.
Oh, this is nice. Look, stalagmites and stalactites of building material. Okay, that's how you do Hotel Igman. Next, the most remote village and the highest village in all of Bosnia.
Oh, my ride is here.
Back in Sarajevo, heading to an ex-Yugoslavia rock music museum. Just someone tells us. It was closed. There's a storm going on and knocked out one of the windows, glass everywhere. But you saw what we saw, and that was enough, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, it was good.
Pretty much everything.
Done. Check. And you recognize the Parrot building, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Where are we going?
Tea House Zilla.
There's a wizard who serves tea in Sarajevo. Nice wizard. Good tea. Did you know Sarajevo has the oldest public toilet in the world? Yeah. So we're headed in the rain to the oldest continuously operated public toilet in the world since 1530. 1530! By God! Yes. Correction, continuously operated except during the Bosnian War. It was destroyed and they rebuilt it in 2002. One mark. Hvala. Obviously, they need to say 1530 up there, but I guess no one really cares about these things. I do. You should. Remember the stripper pole bar that was closed on a Tuesday evening? Well, now it's Thursday. Maybe things have changed. Yeah, the door is bolted shut. He's got love notes stuck inside the door. Not open 24 hours. You can't win all the time. I love how chocolatey this river looks every time I see it. So today's my last day in Sarajevo, and I could show you things that you'd probably be interested in. You might be interested in the grave of Gavrilo Princip in St. Mark's Cemetery, or perhaps the tunnel that they built during the siege of Sarajevo to get it served as a lifeline to the city. You know, you were able to get food and water into the city, and people were able to escape. I could show you some viewpoints, but I can't get it out of my head that the toilet I saw yesterday was not the correct one. It was not the oldest continuously used toilet in Europe. So I'm headed back there just to dig a little deeper. Another quick look on foot of the Skanderia Center, one of the primary venues for the 1984 Winter Olympics. Quick detour for an old synagogue. It looks like it was built in the 1500s or so. Restored, over time due to fires and wars and so on. So this is the oldest synagogue in Bosnia. It's one of three, dating from Ottoman period. It's the Great Synagogue, built 1581. Here's a book recording the loss of 12,000 Jewish lives during World War II. Search for the oldest bathroom continues. Here's an old covered street built from 1537. And of course, destroyed, rebuilt, destroyed, rebuilt. I knew it was the wrong bathroom yesterday. This is the right one. Since 1530, with a little break during the Bosnian War. Oldest continuously operated toilet in Europe. Moral of the story, don't always trust a local. Sorry, Katie. And so you know, the oldest toilet in Europe is right across from this mosque here. My viewpoints haven't been too successful this time around, so I'm going to try for one more viewpoint. Never give up. How about we see what the view is like from the top of this hotel over here? All right, well, this isn't so bad of a view. Let's say we call this a wrap for Sarajevo, and see you next time.